Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have a very special interview. It is somebody that I have followed on Instagram for the past, 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. We've been following each other, and I've really enjoyed watching what she has to say, sharing her story about raising a child who is blind and visually impaired. So I hope you guys enjoy our interview. I'm also going to make sure to tag her handle on Instagram so you guys can go follow her when we're done. And I hope you really enjoy this video. Welcome to the Crab Podcast. Here at Children Raised Around the Blind, we have two goals. Our first goal is to help those living with the blind to understand them better and to help children through the difficulties that come from living with a blind parent. Secondly, we want to spread awareness of the blind community. Here on the podcast, we will share the things that blind people can do and ways the sighted world can include them in everyday life. Join us twice a month to learn about the visually impaired community.
Okay, cool.
Hey everybody, welcome to our podcast. I have a treat for you with a special guest speaker. So I'm going to let her go ahead and introduce herself and tell you a little bit about her family.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Jessica and I am a mum of two kids, Harvey and Lucy. Harvey is our little boy and he will be 3 next month. And Lucy is our daughter 5. And my husband, Brad, we're all currently living in Bangkok, originally from Australia. So we're here doing a little expat stint. We've been here 4 years now. And yeah, it's been a great ride. We're loving it here. So yeah, I guess that's us in a small nutshell.
Awesome. I'm so glad you said yes to doing this interview with me.
No,
It
thank
will
you.
also give you a chance to tell more about Harvey's story. So can you give us a little bit about Harvey's eye condition and tell us, how all of that came about for you guys?
Sure. So Harvey has a retinal disease called Leber's congenital amaurosis, or more commonly known as LCA. And LCA is the most common disease or cause of blindness from birth. So his particular gene is AIPL1, or also known as LCA4, and it is one of the more severe forms of LCA. So kids with AIPL1 are 1 in a million. So he's pretty rare. So he's a pretty little special boy. I think in terms of how, this journey all started for us being our second child. I think we started to notice things were a little bit different compared to his sister. At around, I suppose, 6 to 8 weeks, we started to notice that he wasn't tracking things. He wouldn't notice things like his sister did. And that got us, a bit, I suppose, worried at the beginning as to what was going on. We reached out to a friend of ours who's an ophthalmologist in Australia. Hubby was born here in Thailand, I should have said that, and a COVID baby. So that made it even harder. Obviously, family couldn't get to us at the time. And she just said, look, go and see a pediatric ophthalmologist. And we did. And as most of these diseases go, it's a lot of testing. And at that time, to be honest with you, my biggest concern was that I was going to have a baby that had to wear glasses. And now looking back, I know that that's so silly, but I was quite upset by that. I thought, oh my goodness, like having a baby with glasses is, one extra thing you have to worry about. And little did I know that was the last thing I had to worry about. So yeah, it was a super emotional time for us. I think also because we were in a foreign country where English is also not the first language here. We had no family around. We couldn't have family fly to us. It was locked down. And we're going through all these tests. And at around the age of 3 months, clinically, he was diagnosed with LCA. And then at about 4 months, we started genetic testing. And that took another, I'd say, about 8 weeks until we got his genetic diagnosis. So, that was kind of the journey that we went on. I suppose it was about 6 or 7 months we had his genetic diagnosis. And whilst that was quite a difficult period for us being in Thailand, because we had to go to a lot of local hospitals because they were the ones with the machines, or the particular people we required. We were grateful that we were here because things moved very quickly, where we've heard in other countries sometimes you have to wait up to a year for genetic testing. So, there was pros and cons to it all. But yeah, that I hope that answers in a nutshell sort of how we got Harvey's diagnosis, what his diagnosis is, and yeah, that was kind of the process that we went through.
Say COVID year was hard, I think, for everybody, and then trying to get a specialist would definitely have been a very difficult,
Yeah,
even
it
here in
was
the
really,
States.
it was really, really hard time. And, like, I know that it was a hard time for everybody. And yeah, we were just fortunate that we could make appointments. Obviously, it meant that either myself or my husband were going into the room. So that was also difficult, getting a diagnosis for your child with only one of you present in the bedroom, in the doctor's room. So yeah, look, it was definitely a hard time. But yeah, we're through that now.
That's awesome, and I'm glad you got it done in under a year too, because sometimes it takes so long
Yeah,
that you figure that out, and you're like, my child's
for
not
sure.
this, and all of
Exactly.
that.
And I think the waiting period was just the hardest. It was great to actually finally have an answer, and then you can sort of move on.
Oh yeah, and as moms, there's always like so many worries in our head that we're just like, is it this? Is it that? What does my future look like? And so sometimes it's like
Yeah,
you
for
want that
sure, for sure.
diagnosis as soon as possible,
Yeah.
because you're like, okay, this is where I don't have to worry about all those other things.
Yeah, no, for sure. Totally agree.
So what are some of the adaptive things you guys have learned for you as a mom, especially with having another child, some of those differences, or some things that you've noticed that Harvey really enjoys that maybe your daughter was just completely oblivious to because she's like, I don't need that type of stimulation. So what
Yeah.
are some of those things?
Yeah, look, this is a really interesting question, because I think for myself and my husband, our main goal is to treat Harvey and Lucy completely equal and offer Harvey all the opportunities that we offer Lucy. We try not to think too much about his vision. Obviously, it's something we have to think about. It is there. And there's things we need to do to make things easier for him or more accessible to him. But we try to always let him try things before we adapt it. And I think, in my opinion, I mean, again, this is just my opinion, I think it really depends also on the amount of vision a child may have, because obviously blindness is a spectrum. We believe Harvey does have a little bit of vision in terms of being able to see large shapes, lights and shadows, but we don't think he can see any detail. So, I suppose at his age at the moment, the main things we do are obviously his toys. He's mad for cars and trucks and those kind of things, but cars and trucks that make noise, or cars and trucks that have lights, something as simple as that. He loves to kick a ball around, and we have a ball that has a bell in it. So it's just small changes, I suppose, we've made. We haven't really made any changes to our home. He's really impressive at how he navigates and learns how things are. And we're big believers on that. He just sort of gets on with it, and we try and let him show us that before we assume that he needs these things made and done for him. In his bedroom, we do try and keep toys in a particular place so he can play freely by himself and he knows where things are. And then I suppose that's what we've done. Books, we've added Braille. Obviously he's not reading Braille yet, but we've added Braille there so he knows what reading looks like for him. Choosing touch and feely books, those kind of things. So yeah, I suppose it's kind of obvious things that you would do for a child with visual impairment. But yeah, I wouldn't say we, to be honest, have made huge adaptations. He's pretty amazing, I must say.
He sounds like a normal, almost 3-year-old boy. Like he's
Yeah, and I think that's really
things.
important. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's really important for people to know. Is I think it's quick for people. I find people are quick to judge people with disabilities and think they're not capable and stuff, but actually they are. And yeah, you don't need to make huge changes until you know what they're actually capable of doing.
Oh yeah, and
Kind
exploring
of
all of
Exactly.
that. Like that's what normal toddlers do. And he just does it
Yep.
by touch
He gets
instead of
into the
seeing.
drawers, he does all of that stuff, makes a mess, all of that. And, and we get him to tidy up his bedroom just like his sister does. So we don't feel sorry for him by any means and, give him any, I suppose, yeah, we don't, what his sister does, he
No
does maybe in a
privileges.
slightly, yeah, exactly. He does it in a slightly different way, but he still does it. So yeah, that's
He's
kind of
required to do it.
how we look at it. Yeah.
So, has your son been able to feel accepted by others in public? I don't know how much you guys are out and about. I know I see some of your content where he's, being a normal kid outside. So what is it
Yeah.
like kind of for you guys environmental outside of the family? How's that
Yeah.
been?
I suppose there's two sides to this. One being us and our family and our friends. Everybody's been amazing. We have a great support system around us, and everybody has accepted him for who he is. And yes, his blindness is a part of him, but it doesn't define him. And we found that our friends have been great and also really willing to learn about what blindness means for Harvey. And that has been fantastic. I suppose the other side of that is, the general public. So we obviously, as I mentioned, live in Thailand, and unfortunately in Thailand, disability is not looked upon in a fantastic light. So that can be sometimes difficult, because as soon as you mention that your child is blind, there's often negative connotations around that straight away. There's often the need to feel like you have to do everything for Harvey. At nursery, those kind of places, we've had to really sort of tell them, like, he's capable, he can do things, he doesn't need to be put in bubble wrap. So yeah, I mean, and I don't think it comes from any, like, a bad place. I think it's, to be honest, I think it's lack of education, and lack of awareness, really. So that's one of the main reasons that we're doing this, is to hopefully educate and create more awareness around low vision and blindness. I mean, Harvey was the first blind person I had ever met. So yeah, it's an interesting place to be, but we're just trying to I suppose make it as easy for him as possible by creating awareness around what it means to be blind. So, yeah.
Exactly. That's why
Yeah.
I have crabs, because there's not anything actually for kids of blind parents. And so many
Yeah.
people growing up thought, oh, well, you must do the cooking for your mom, or you must tend to your younger siblings. I'm like, excuse me, she is a grown woman. She is capable of doing all of these
Totally,
things.
100%.
Like they thought my dad was in charge of bath time and stuff. And I'm like, my dad never once did a bath time with us. Like my mom did all of that. She taught us
Exactly.
all of those skills, but it's just people don't know. And so they don't understand that blind people are just as capable. They just may have a little bit of a different way of doing it. So
Exactly.
it's interesting. You've already run into those things, even with Harvey being so little, that's
Yeah, no, for sure.
sometimes it's like, wait, hold on, what did you think?
Yeah, exactly,
That doesn't
exactly.
make sense to my adult mind. It didn't make sense when I was younger. And the fact that sometimes the same comments are made, and you're like, no, I
Yeah.
don't pick up my mom's clothes for her. Like she needs her own
Yeah, she
clothes.
can do that.
Just little things. So
No, exactly
interesting.
right.
So as a family, what are some of your goals, like trips, school, family time together? What are some fun things maybe you guys do, or just goals that you have down the road as Harvey gets older to, let him have those experiences of,
Yeah.
normal,
Um,
sounds like he's normal life anyway, but
yeah, no, I think obviously with us living overseas, we do enjoy to travel a lot. So that was one thing, when I got his diagnosis, I was like, oh my God, like, how are we going to travel with this blind little baby? He can't see anything. And, obviously very naive of me. And I get angry that that's how I was thinking at the time. But to be honest, that's how I was thinking.
Mhm.
And yes, no, we do a lot of travel. So he loves it. And, he again just explores the world in a different way, loves pools, loves to swim, loves the beach. So we're very fortunate that we've been able to do quite a bit of travel with him. And he's currently going to nursery. So he goes to nursery 4 mornings a week, which again, schooling for us has been fantastic so far. We've had great support system at school with him. Moving forward is where we're going to have to look at, like making sure that he can get the right support with Braille and things like that. But we've got plans in place for that. We've already looked at, this the next school that he'll go to. So yeah, I think, to be honest, we just live a very normal life, and do things most families do. And as Harvey is getting older, and he's able to communicate more now and show us really what he can do and what he does enjoy, just like Lucy shows us what she likes and doesn't like. We sort of just get on with it. And I don't think we really have ever thought that his blindness can stop us from doing something as a family. And sure, there's some things that are probably better suited to Harvey, but there's some things that are better suited to Lucy. So yeah, we try not to get too hung up on it, and we find that he always finds his own little way of enjoying stuff. So yeah, I suppose the next big step for Harvey is obviously like school and how that's going to look, and learning Braille and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I suppose that's kind of nothing too amazing. I suppose just normal life, really.
Normal. Yeah, that's really cool. And you're already thinking that far ahead of, what he's going to need, and the need for Braille. I'm a big Braille advocate person, even though my podcast for 1st of September was on how, as a non-blind person, I use Braille in a regular time, usually every 3 to 4 months. And then if I walk in a new space, I'm touching the Braille on all the signs. I'm the weirdo.
Yeah.
Because actually, like, reading the Braille.
So aware of it, right?
It's just there. It's part of who you are. And so that's really cool that you guys are working that way with Harvey. And, he sounds like he's going to be ready when he starts learning. And
Gosh, I hope so.
Fun. Like, it opens.
I mean, obviously, there's that added layer, right? Like, there's things that you have to consider that you don't have to consider with the sighted child. But yeah, we just, I guess, we often joke that, like, there's, a sighted child can just have as many problems or difficulties or hurdles. So yeah, we try not to think too much about it and worry about it when it comes up, I suppose.
No, that's so awesome. So that kind of mentioned, went into my next question with him learning Braille. So you said you already have some Braille books there that he's able to at least feel and kind of know this is what I'm going to be learning to read one day. I can read this to mommy instead of mommy read it to me.
Yeah. So we were super fortunate. There's an amazing organization in Australia called Vision Australia, that sort of, when we first got the diagnosis, they sort of gave us some, I suppose, tips and tricks of what to do. So we have exposed Harvey to Braille from very early on, I think from, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 months, in terms of just putting Braille in his books. And at school, everywhere that there would be a word for a sighted child, we have put Braille labels, and we work with the school on that. Again, no 2-year-old is reading the sign toilet, but it's there. So we if there's a sighted word there, then we want a Braille label. Things on his water bottles. And I think it's just really great for him to know that Braille is just, it's his tool, it's his way of reading, and also exposing Lucy to that as well. And just making it really common, like just a common thing for them. And also, little things like when they have their parties, we try and Braille their friends' names on party bags. And just to try and educate people that it's nothing weird, it's just a different form of reading. And yeah, it's great to see Lucy being like, oh, yep, there's Braille in the lift, or oh, there's Braille on the handles, and that, I think, is really lovely to know that, she's not going to, I mean, she knows Braille and she can identify Braille. She's not going to be a Braille reader herself, but just that she's seeing it, and for her now it's just like, oh yeah, there's Braille, just like you would say, like, oh yeah, there's a flower on the wall. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's definitely going to be, Harvey will definitely be a Braille reader, that's for sure. We're looking at actually buying our first Braille later in the year. And yeah, and me and my husband are learning it. My husband practiced on the shower screens doing all his dots. So yeah, no, that's kind of, I suppose, where we're at. We've got a long way to go, we know that, but we're very keen to get started with it.
Yeah, I say learn the alphabet first. My 5-year-old actually wants to learn Braille. I told her you can learn
That's
sign
awesome.
language or Braille. It doesn't matter since we homeschool. And she said, "Can I learn Braille this year?" And I'm like, that it's not happening now. It'll happen in
Yeah.
January. But yeah, absolutely. You want to learn the Braille alphabet? Because we actually have all the print Braille books my mom has through
Oh
the
wow.
years collected at our house right now. And so
Yeah.
a few are in grade 1. So she could actually, if I can get her to learn tactilely, she could learn to read them in Braille. And so it's just
Awesome.
one of those really cool things that like my kids, like the other day, they're like, can we go look at the books from Graham, and pulled off the print Braille books and figured out what ones they want to read. So
Yeah, that's so
it's just so
cool.
commonplace that it's like, it's not weird to them that we have regular print books and we have the giant print
Yeah.
Braille books. So I think it's just neat to expose them to it. And then I know she'll talk to friends and stuff if we go places and, hey, that's a Braille sign, or, just noticing it as
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
It's so cool because
Exactly.
the little
And
kids
little
can
kids,
educate the others.
well, that's it. They're so powerful, right? Like they can just spread it themselves. And yeah, no, we're pretty excited, but also a bit nervous, a bit overwhelmed, but we'll get
It
there.
is a lot. I've tried to do
Oh,
Braille transcription course. I can do the alphabet. I can do some blends. And
yeah, awesome.
past that, my brain just kind of checks out on it. So one day maybe I'll try again
Yeah,
on it. I
we
still have all
made
my books, but
yeah,
it's
we
different.
made yeah, for sure. We made Braille flashcards, and me and my husband were like doing competing against each other as to who knew the most letters, and he always beat me. So I've got to pick up my game.
Here you go. That's so
Yeah,
cool. I think it's just a really neat thing, for everybody and to learn, but especially,
yeah,
when you have a child that you're wanting to teach Braille, that helps them as well know that, hey, yeah, mom and dad are struggling just as much as you are to learn this, buddy. We're gonna
exactly.
do it together. And that's really
No,
awesome. So any closing words or thoughts for, other parents who are dealing with a child with vision loss, or maybe um, are not anticipating that, but if it were to happen, they can come back here and say, hey, I heard from so and so, and this is really good
yeah,
information, because it's not always at birth. My mom's vision loss was at birth as well,
okay,
but there's always things that happen as kids age too, and sometimes that can be just as scary.
yeah,
You're
for sure, for sure.
so any thoughts for you, just coming from the parent side? And
Yeah, look, I think the main thing is, everybody tells you it's going to be okay. And I think at the beginning, to be honest, it's really hard to believe that. The diagnosis phase is scary, and there's no denying that. You know, I remember those early days, and people kept telling me it was going to be okay, it was going to be okay, and I really struggled to believe that. I think the unknown is always scary, and any parent wants what's best for their child. And I think what really helped me, and I would highly recommend to anybody who's starting this journey or about to go through this journey or whatever it may be, is reaching out to people in similar situations to you. um, my family, my friends, they were fantastic, and I am so grateful for them. But what really helped us was talking to people in a similar position to us, and also people that were slightly further along the journey. And they were the ones that I really truly believe, because they were living the same life we were, and they would tell us it's going to be okay. And they were the people that I really turned to in that time. So I've met some amazing people through social media, and they really helped us, because now we're what, 2.5 years on from diagnosis, and it is okay. Everything's great. Everything's fine. And as your child gets older, you start to as they start to move around and they start to communicate and they start to have interests, you see that they are fine and they're happy. And just because we live in a sighted world doesn't mean that that's the best world to be in. So yeah, I think my advice would be to reach out to people in similar positions to you. There's fantastic Facebook pages. There's so many amazing Instagram accounts now. And I think they're really the people that will get you through that hard part at the beginning. I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's not easy. Well, it definitely wasn't easy for me. But it really does end up okay. And I think, for people that don't have blind children, my what I ask is always to realize that, people who have vision loss and visually impaired and blind, they're so capable. They are so able to do things, and don't be quick to judge. And I look back at myself, and I was quick to judge, and I am angry at myself for that. But they're really capable, and yeah, give them a go. Look at what they can do, and don't put it all up before you've actually seen what they're capable of. So yes, I suppose that would be my advice.
Don't put them in a box. Let them draw
Them
their own circles first, for sure.
Exactly right. And a lot of the times they're probably, I don't know, they hubby blows me away every day. So yeah, I think that would be my advice. And you can learn so much from so many other families, and yeah, everybody's going through their own little journey, and no journey is the same.
Exactly. Can you tell us real quick, for those, and I'm going to make sure to tag your Instagram account, but your Instagram account handle, and I don't know if you have a Facebook, but where they can follow you and Harvey and keep up with you guys, and kind of
sure.
how he's progressing.
No, we're just on Instagram. We're not on Facebook, so it's just at the Harvey Way with an underscore at the end.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you very much for having us.
Welcome back. I hope you guys really enjoyed Jessica and her story with Harvey and everything they're doing. I really, as she and I were chatting before the interview, I said, I think we have some of the same goals in mind, even though we're doing it in different ways. And I just thought it was really, really cool that they've already, seen things, and they're working towards some of the same goals of, getting Harvey what he needs while also not babying him, so to speak. And just they're doing a really great job, learning the Braille and having accessible things for him. And it's really cool to see. So I hope you guys do go follow them at the Harvey Way with the underscore on Instagram. Keep up with their story. His birthday is this month of October, so I hope you guys get a chance to wish him happy birthday. And we will be back here next month, 1st of November, and having, our regular podcast updates as always, trying to keep up with that. We are on YouTube, so you can always watch our podcasts on YouTube for the second podcast of the month. Please share that with anybody that you want. Make sure if you can subscribe, and then also leave us a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. That really helps get the podcast a little bit more, especially now that we're in 20 episodes. We're heading in the right direction, getting all that content up, and would really love to see more people listening. And it just helps overall with the content that I'm making, and gives me a little bit better idea of what people are looking for when they are interested in blindness and blind related things. So do that for me, and I will see you guys in a couple weeks. Bye.